Hey everyone, welcome to our Wednesday Female Fat Loss. Today we're going to be talking about what carbs should I eat and when. So first and foremost, our whole approach is eating whole foods. So eating from the ground or picking from a tree. So that basically means the potato family, squash, fruits and veggies. Those are like our main sources. We want to obviously avoid those grains and legumes that can cause some GI distress. So now we're going to be talking about when should I be eating my carbohydrates. So generally in the morning, that's the time you don't want to actually have your carbohydrates. So that morning toast, you might want to kiss it goodbye for a little bit. You want to stick to more of a moderate protein and a moderate fat and low carb breakfast. So an example of that could be sauteed veggies, so like spinach, zucchini and mushroom with 2 eggs and half an avocado with some berries. So you're getting a little bit of carb, a little bit of fat and a little bit of protein at the same time. The reason why you want to avoid having a high amount of carbohydrates is that in the morning you actually have higher hormonal responses. So for example, your cortisol is actually higher in the morning. So you want to avoid having high cortisol and then spiking that insulin more. So let's stick to a lower carb in the morning. In the afternoon, that's when you actually want to start increasing your carbohydrates. The reason why you want to increase it in the afternoon and not just do a full-blown like carbohydrate intake at night is because you don't want to create such a high insulin, I guess you could say, spike, if you will. So let's slowly introduce them in the afternoon. So at this time would be lunch. An example is probably around 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates. The only thing you want to keep in mind is when you're having your lunch, you want to make sure you have your moderate protein, moderate carb and lower fat here, because you have to be careful when you have high carbohydrate in conjunction with high fat, that could actually lead to fat storage. You always kind of keep that in mind. So moderate protein, moderate carb and a bit of lower fat in the afternoon, and then come dinner time you can have your more carbohydrates here. So the reason why I don't want you to have so many carbohydrates in the afternoons is because I want to avoid that crash. Whereas at nighttime would be a more ideal time to have it, because if you do have that crash, it's better to have the crash and go to bed. So I'm not sure if anybody else has experienced this, but after I have sushi, I'm comatose. I just want to go straight to bed. So that's an example of that crash. You kind of eat so much of it and then you fall asleep. So if you're going to increase your carbohydrates, the best time is actually dinner, because it actually helps promote sleep as well. Yeah, so that's one reason why, sorry. And like I said, you could deal with a crash a bit better at bedtime. So like I said, dinner, higher carb, lunch, moderate, breakfast, lower carb. And now a lot of athletes ask us, what should I eat before training, like carb-wise, pre or post? At the end of the day, your body's burning glycogen throughout the day and obviously during your training. So you can restore your glycogen, aka your carbs, pre or post workout. It really depends on you. Yeah, I almost have to play with it a little bit. I like to have butternut squash before I train. I find that helps me, and I don't get a crash after. So everybody's different. You kind of have to find what works best for you. Some people like to have oatmeal after training with a bit of peanut butter or almond butter with some hemp seeds and chia seeds and some berries. That's another option as well. If you're having a meal after training, because if you're not on the go, let's say you're having steak, potatoes, and green beans, those are great sources. You have a low carb, a more moderate carb, and you got your protein and fat in that steak. Hopefully this clarifies a few things. If you guys have any more questions, slide into our DMs. Thanks.